A pair, expecting their first child, set out for a final trek in Red Rock Canyon, craving one last thrill before parenthood, only to vanish completely in the vast Nevada desert. Years later, for years to be exact, a runner and his loyal dog uncover a chilling find under a rocky ledge, evidence so shocking it upends all the theories detectives had about their fate. Under the scorching Nevada sky, Emily Carter shielded her eyes from the glare bouncing off the crimson sandstone cliffs. At 29, she'd grown used to these weekend hunts for answers. Her sturdy boots scraped the loose pebbles as she stopped to sip from her water bottle, the tepid water barely easing the parched heat that seemed to drain every drop of hydration from her skin. Maybe it's time we head back," shouted Jake, a dedicated volunteer who'd been part of these searches for 2 years now. His face glowed red under his cap, with sweat soaking through his shirt's collar. Emily scanned the small crew around her. Just 7 showed up today, a far cry from the 15 who once joined when the mystery was still hot. 4 years had eroded their optimism, turning it into something heavier. What began as frantic quests to find survivors had morphed into somber missions for resolution. "You're probably right," she agreed. Her sister, Olivia, was 7.5 months pregnant when she went missing with her husband, Noah, 4 years back. Emily grabbed her GPS to log their current search zone. Over time, they'd honed a meticulous strategy, carefully combing through Red Rock Canyon's vast stretches. The cops had long since shelved the case as cold, only acting on solid tips. But Emily couldn't move on. Olivia was her last family tie, their parents lost to a car crash 6 years earlier. "Okay, folks," Emily called, her voice echoing over the rugged landscape. "Let's wrap it up for now. Double-check you've got all your stuff." Back at the parking lot, the group scattered to their cars. Emily flipped open her trunk, stashing her backpack and gear inside. Her phone's clock showed 11 a.m. as she fished it from her pocket, finally catching a signal after hours in the canyon's dead zone. Notifications flooded her screen, missed calls, texts, voicemails. Her pulse raced when she saw they all came from Detective Michael Lee of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. She tapped the callback icon. After one ring, Detective Lee's deep, familiar voice came through. "Emily, thank goodness. I've been trying to get you for hours." "Sorry, Detective. I was out searching in Red Rock with my team. No bars out there. What's going on? Is everything all right? Are you still at Red Rock?" "Yeah, we just made it back to the lot by the visitor center." "What's happening, Detective?" A brief silence followed, with faint voices murmuring in the background. "There's been a breakthrough in Olivia's case. A hiker stumbled on something this morning we think is tied to her." Emily's water bottle slipped, splashing onto the sizzling pavement. Ava and Jake, packing up nearby, saw her shock and rushed over. "What did they find?" Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'd rather go over this face to face. Can you head to the White Rock Hills Loop? It's on the canyon's north side. I'll send you the exact spot." "Absolutely, I'm on my way now." "Great. I'll text you the coordinates. You'll see plenty of patrol cars there, you can't miss us." Hanging up, Emily met the worried gazes of her friends. "They've found something," she said, her voice quivering. "The detective needs us at White Rock Hills Loop." Ava, without a second thought, rested a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. "We're right behind you." Her phone pinged with Detective Lee's coordinates. She entered them into her GPS, seeing it was about a 45-minute drive. 3 other volunteers, Liam, Sophia, and Ethan, opted to join, forming a small caravan. As they pulled out, the scenery changed, the bold red rocks fading into pale limestone outcrops. White Rock Hills Loop was a quieter corner of the park, notorious for its rough trails and isolation. Nearing the coordinates, Emily spotted the cluster of police vehicles. Her hands shook as she parked in the makeshift lot and stepped out. Detective Lee guided her and her companions to his unmarked SUV. "The site's about a mile off," he said. "The ground's too uneven for regular cars from here." They crammed into two police SUVs, built for desert travel. The ride was jarring, bouncing along a barely there path. At their stop, Emily saw a group ahead, crime scene techs, officers in uniform, and what seemed like search and rescue teams. A canopy had been set up, shading an area for collecting evidence. As they trekked the last stretch, Detective Lee walked beside her. "I need to brace you for what we've uncovered," he said softly. "It's not good news, Emily." She nodded, words failing her, her legs heavy with each step. At the canopy, a man stood with a German shepherd. Detective Lee introduced them. "Emily, this is James Harper. He found something this morning." James, in his mid-40s with weathered skin and warm eyes, tipped his cap respectfully. "I'm so sorry you're going through this," he said gently. "I was out with Luna," he nodded at the dog, "trying a tougher trail I hadn't hit before." Luna darted ahead and came back with something in her jaws. Emily's eyes fell to the evidence table, where items were neatly arranged, tagged, and snapped. Her breath hitched at the sight: bones, clearly human, bleached and worn by the elements. "It was a forearm bone," James explained softly, "a radius. I knew it from my old paramedic days. As soon as I realized what Luna had, I marked the spot and dialed 911. Detective Lee steered Emily closer to the table. "After James called, we rushed our forensic team out. A fierce windstorm hit last night, likely the worst this year. We think it disturbed remains that were shielded until now." Emily forced herself to study the bones, tears clouding her vision. But the next item nearly brought her to her knees. "This led us to believe it could be Olivia," Detective Lee said, pointing to a tibia with metal hardware still fixed to it. "You noted in your report that she had knee surgery." "Yeah," Emily murmured. 3 years before she vanished. A ski mishap. They put in pins and a plate. The hardware's serial numbers match her medical records, the detective confirmed. "DNA results are pending, but it's likely her." Her sobs broke free. "Oh God, it's really her." Ava slid an arm around Emily, steadying her as her legs buckled. But Detective Lee's face grew graver. "There's more, Emily. We found smaller bones, tucked in a cliff crevice." The weight of his words hit her hard: Olivia's baby. "Our forensic anthropologist thinks they align with a late-term fetus," Detective Lee said, his calm tone masking unease. "Some show signs of scavenger marks. Coyotes roam these parts." Emily's sobs grew uncontrollable. For years of clinging to hope, picturing Olivia and Noah alive somewhere, crumbled against these stark bones spread on a table. "What about Noah?" she choked out. "Did you find?" "Nothing yet," Detective Lee answered. "No remains we can confirm as male. The search team's still out there, widening the area, but so far, nothing." "How's that possible?" "They were together. They shared that Facebook post from the canyon that morning." The detective's face stayed neutral. "That's one of many puzzles we need to solve. With no trace of Noah's remains or signs of others involved, we have to explore every scenario." "You think Noah did this?" Emily's voice spiked with disbelief. That's crazy. He adored her. They struggled 6 years to conceive. He was a surgeon, saved lives. He'd never. I know it's tough to hear, Detective Lee said evenly. But we can't overlook anything. That only Olivia's remains were found, hidden rather than lost, raises questions we have to face. Emily shook her head fiercely. Noah wasn't some expert hiker. Neither was Olivia. I begged them not to go, especially with her so pregnant. They said it'd be an easy stroll. Him trekking deep into the desert, harming her, hiding her, it's illogical. Sometimes those closest to us hide dark sides, the detective said kindly. But you're right, there are gaps. That's why we're digging deeper. He pointed to the cliff, cordoned off with crime scene tape. The remains were under that ledge, partly shielded by fallen stones. They might have stayed hidden there all this time until last night's storm shifted things. What's next? Emily asked, drained from the emotional ordeal. We'll send everything to the coroner for detailed analysis and DNA tests. We'll need a sample from you, as Olivia's sister, for comparison. The case is now active again. Emily nodded, numb. She approached James Harper, needing to express gratitude to the man who'd brought answers, however painful. Mr. Harper, thank you for reporting it, for doing what was right. James's eyes held empathy. I'm just sorry it's such heavy news. Luna and I hike here often, but this was our first time on that trail. Feels like fate. Is it okay if I reach out later to thank you properly? Olivia would have wanted, her voice cracked. Of course. Detective Lee has my contact info. Take all the time you need. Detective Lee stepped up again. Emily, we should head back. The forensic crew will be here a while, but you don't need to see more. We'll need you at the station for the DNA sample and to go over the case files. The return to the parking lot blurred by. Media vans had multiplied, but Emily was too spent to mind their shouts or flashing cameras. You can drive to the station behind us, Detective Lee offered, or I can have an officer take your car, and you can ride with me. Emily glanced at her shaking hands, clutching her keys. I don't think I can drive right now. Totally understandable. He signaled a young officer. Officer Rodriguez will handle your vehicle. As she handed over her keys and settled into the detective's car, Emily stole one last look at the desert that had claimed her sister 4 years ago, only now beginning to reveal its grim secrets. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department headquarters stood tall, its sleek glass and concrete exterior gleaming under the relentless afternoon sun. Detective Michael Lee guided Emily through the main doors, past the security screening, and into the lively interior, where officers and civilians moved with seamless precision. They stepped into a compact medical exam room, where a forensic tech, badge-reading Sarah Thompson, waited with a collection kit. She gave Emily a kind, understanding smile. "This'll be quick, Miss Carter," Sarah said softly. "Just open your mouth, and I'll swab the inside of your cheek." Emily followed the instruction, feeling the soft cotton swab graze her inner cheek. "That's it," Sarah assured her. "The lab's prioritizing this, so we'll have results in about 48 to 72 hours. Detective Lee nodded his thanks to the technician and led Emily up 2 floors to the Criminal Investigations Unit. His office was simple but tidy, with case files neatly stacked on shelves and a large whiteboard scrawled with notes from ongoing cases. He pulled out a hefty manila folder, Emily spotting her sister Olivia's name on the label. "I've gone over the initial case file," he said, "but I'd like us to review it together again." Sometimes, details that seemed minor back then take on new weight. Can you walk me through that Sunday, October 14, 2018? Tell me everything you recall. Emily inhaled deeply, her mind drifting back to that morning 4 years prior. Olivia rang me around 8 a.m., buzzing with excitement. She said Noah had a rare day off, and they were eager to hike. I told her flat out it wasn't a good idea. She was 36 weeks pregnant, just a month from her due date, and she'd had that knee surgery years before. Right, about 3 years earlier, Detective Lee noted. She'd healed well, but the pregnancy weight made it flare up sometimes. I warned her it was a bad call. Detective Lee jotted down notes as she spoke. But they went anyway. Olivia could be headstrong. Her OB/GYN, Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, had encouraged her to keep active, saying walking would ease third trimester discomforts like swelling and back pain, and help the baby settle into position for birth. Emily's voice wavered slightly. I suggested a stroll around the block or a trip to the air-conditioned mall, but Noah had been swamped with work, and they wanted a special outing together before the baby arrived. For the next 2 hours, Detective Lee carefully probed every angle of the case. He asked about Noah's family, both parents passed, with a brother in Ohio, Olivia's friends, a tight-knit group, mostly young or expecting moms, their finances, stable but not lavish, and any shifts in their behavior before they vanished. Detective Lee's face was compassionate yet professional. I know it's hard to think about, but we found Olivia's remains hidden in a remote spot, with no sign of Noah. In cases like this, we have to consider the possibility that the missing person played a role. But why would he? Emily countered, her voice sharp with disbelief. They were overjoyed, finally about to have the child they tried for over 6 years. People can conceal things, even from those closest to them, money troubles, addictions, maybe an affair. We'll be digging into everything. You won't find anything, Emily said with conviction. There's nothing there. Detective Lee shut the folder. I hope you're right. For now, stay vigilant. This news is already hitting the media. When cold cases like this heat up, it can stir unexpected reactions. If Noah's out there, he might reach out. Or if someone else was involved, they could feel cornered by the renewed focus. You think I'm at risk? It's smart to be cautious. If you notice anything odd, strange calls, someone tailing you, anything out of place, call me right away. What about the excavation team? Any other finds? Detective Lee shook his head. They've widened the search area, but no new remains yet. They'll keep at it tomorrow, weather allowing, and we're bringing in cadaver dogs to cover more ground. Emily stood, her body weighed down by physical and emotional fatigue. They walked back to the main hallway together. Near the elevators, a young officer approached, holding out a set of keys. Ms. Carter, Officer Rodriguez asked me to give these back to you. Thanks, Emily said, accepting her keys. Pulling into her driveway felt like crossing a finish line. Emily steered into her garage, the doors sliding shut behind her, sealing off the day's heavy revelations. Her house was eerily silent. She tossed her keys onto the entry table and stumbled into the living room, sinking onto the couch as the day's weight crashed over her. Tears poured out, deep sobs shaking her frame. Her eyes landed on the family photos lined up on the built-in shelves. She was the last one standing. The images blurred through fresh tears, her parents, killed by a drunk driver heading home from their 35th anniversary celebration, and now Olivia and her unborn child, their remains scattered like debris in the desert. The silence became unbearable, so she dragged herself to her bedroom, exhaustion hitting hard but sleep feeling out of reach. On a whim, she flipped open her laptop and logged into Facebook, a platform she rarely touched. Curiosity about the man who'd found Olivia's remains pushed her to search for James Harper. His profile was open, packed with what you'd expect from a hiking enthusiast. Image after image showed him on trails across Nevada and nearby states, always with Luna by his side. A post from 3 weeks back caught her eye, James outside a cozy cafe called Desert Blooms, holding a slice of lavender honey cake. His caption read, "Best dessert I've tasted in years. This spot near Valley of Fire is a true find." The mention of cake sparked a rush of memories. Olivia had a gift for baking, her pastries a work of art. Even after leaving her job at the Wynn to focus on her pregnancy, she'd kept at it, filling their home with the warm scents of vanilla, butter, fresh bread, and intricate sweets. Looking at James's post, Emily felt a pull to honor him properly. A store-bought gift seemed too impersonal for the man who'd brought her closure. Alone in her quiet bedroom, she decided to keep Olivia's passion alive by baking for James. First, she needed Olivia's recipe book, a handwritten treasure trove of her sister's best creations. She knew it was at Olivia and Noah's house. A glance out the window showed daylight still lingering. Waiting until morning felt impossible, she wanted to start baking at dawn. The 10-minute walk to their house was usually a pleasant stroll through the calm neighborhood they'd chosen to stay close to each other. But now, with the sunset painting the sky in hues of amber and pink, every familiar sight felt like a quiet wound. The house stood still on its corner lot, unchanged from 4 years ago except for the overgrown grass and stack of faded newspapers on the porch. Emily had kept up the property taxes and utilities for the first year, holding on to hope. Financial strain eventually forced her to let most services lapse, maintaining just enough to keep the city from seizing the place. She unlocked the front door with her key. The once familiar hint of Olivia's vanilla perfume was gone, replaced by the stale odor of a house sealed shut too long. She climbed the stairs to the master bedroom, each creak echoing in the empty space. Olivia's recipe book had to be in her secret hiding spot, Emily was sure. Her sister had guarded those recipes like precious secrets. The bedroom felt hollow, the bed still marked by an indent, likely from a detective rummaging through drawers years ago. Emily checked the obvious spots first: bookshelf, dresser, closet shelves, nothing. Then she recalled the hidden cabinet. Olivia had shown it to her once, thrilled by its clever design. A decorative mirror above the bed swung open to reveal a small compartment. Emily reached up, pressed the latch, and the mirror opened, revealing a leather-bound notebook with Olivia's recipes etched in gold on the cover. She eased it out, settling on the dusty couch to leaf through it. Olivia's neat handwriting filled every page, each recipe a fragment of her sister's spirit captured in ink. A noise outside stopped her cold, a car engine humming steadily. It wasn't unusual for the neighborhood, but its lingering presence set her on edge. She crept to the window, peeking through the curtain's slit. A dark sedan idled at the curb. 3 men stepped out, their deliberate strides toward the house chilling her to the bone. The leader wore a striking brown fedora, oddly familiar. Her mind raced, should she call out, demand to know their purpose? But their purposeful movements warned her to stay quiet, these weren't friendly neighbors. She heard them at the front door, not knocking but tampering with the lock, the metallic scrape sending a surge of adrenaline through her. She needed to call for help but realized she'd left her phone at home, thinking she'd only be gone a moment. She hurried downstairs as silently as possible, aiming for the kitchen landline. In her rush, her hip bumped a decorative vase on the hall table, sending it crashing to the hardwood floor, the sound shattering the house's stillness. The lockpicking stopped instantly. Through the front window's curtains, she saw the men retreat swiftly to their car. Pressing against the wall, she strained to glimpse their faces without being spotted. The man in the fedora turned slightly, and Emily's breath caught. His profile, his posture, the slope of his shoulders reminded her of Noah. But that couldn't be, could it? The sedan sped off, leaving Emily rooted to the spot for a long moment until she remembered the shattered vase. She grabbed a broom and dustpan from the kitchen, meticulously sweeping up the broken porcelain pieces. The simple chore steadied her pounding heart a bit. Who were those guys? If one was really Noah, why wouldn't he have a key to his own place? Why attempt to break in? And who were his companions? She reached for the kitchen phone, only to find the line silent. Naturally, she hadn't paid the bill in years. Detective Lee's caution about odd events following new evidence rang in her head. She had to report this to him, but first, she needed to make it home safely. She hurried back upstairs to grab the recipe book. As she reached for it, her gaze landed on a framed picture on the shelf, Noah at a medical conference in Reno, sporting the same brown fedora she'd just seen. He'd bought it on a lark, she recalled, joking it gave him Indiana Jones vibes. A shiver crawled down her spine. She snatched the photo and the recipe book, then checked every window. The street looked clear, no sign of the mysterious car. Even so, locking the house and starting the walk home felt like stepping into a spotlight. The recipe book and photo pressed tightly against her chest. Every shadow loomed menacingly, every engine rumble spiked her pulse. The 10-minute trek stretched into what felt like an eternity. Only when she was inside her own home, door locked and deadbolt, did she let out a full breath. The second her front door clicked shut, Emily lunged for her phone, her shaking fingers dialing Detective Lee's direct line. He picked up after 2 rings. "Detective, something wild just went down at Olivia's house," she blurted, words spilling out in a frantic rush. "I think 3 guys tried to break in. I was there grabbing something and heard them messing with the lock. I accidentally knocked over a vase, and they bolted. Are you okay? Are you home now?" "Yeah, I'm home, doors locked tight." "But, Detective, one of them. I swear it might have been Noah. He had on this unique brown fedora Noah used to wear." A brief silence hung on the line. "Might have been. Did you get a good look at his face?" "No," Emily admitted, frustration tinging her tone. "Just a quick side profile as he got in the car. But that hat, the way he carried himself. And if it was Noah, why not use a key? Why break in? What kind of car were they in?" "A dark sedan, maybe black or navy, I couldn't tell in the dusk. Didn't catch the plates." Detective Lee let out a sigh. "I'll dispatch a patrol to sweep the area and talk to neighbors. That's the best we can do with so little to go on. Can't you post someone at the house? What if they come back? I get your worry, but we can't station an officer there round the clock based on an attempted break-in by unknown people. Resources are too tight." Emily's grip on the phone tightened. "But you warned me this kind of thing could happen after the find." "I did, and I mean it. We'll ramp up patrols in the area and tell neighbors to stay alert. They'll report anything fishy." After making her promise to call instantly if anything else happened, Detective Lee hung up. Emily set the phone down and leaned against her kitchen counter, adrenaline fading into bone-deep tiredness. The recipe book sat nearby, and she flipped it open to Olivia's renowned honey cake, perfect for James. She scanned the ingredients, mentally checking her pantry, short on eggs and out of the premium vanilla extract Olivia swore by. Emily grabbed her purse and jotted down a shopping list. The grocery store, just a 10-minute drive, was part of a bustling strip mall that stayed lively after dark. The routine of shopping would soothe her nerves, she reasoned. The parking lot glowed under bright lights, neon signs from the grocery, gas station, and 24-hour donut shop casting a vibrant oasis in the desert night. Emily parked close to the store entrance, reaching for her reusable bags when motion at the gas station caught her attention. 3 men stepped out of the convenience store, and her blood froze when she spotted the brown fedora. She ducked low in her seat on instinct, then cautiously peeked over the dashboard. The men stood in a loose huddle by a black sedan, locked in what looked like a heated discussion. They were too far for her to hear clearly, but snippets of their talk drifted through the night air. "The ledger's gotta be there," one man gestured sharply. "We need to be cautious with the hunt," the fedora wearer replied. "Gotta move fast," the third man kept scanning nervously. Emily's heart pounded against her ribs. A ledger? What kind of ledger would be stashed in Olivia's house? As she watched, another figure appeared from behind the gas station, a younger guy in what seemed like veterinary scrubs, printed with cartoon animals. He jogged over, clutching a small cooler. The group exchanged quick words before all 4 piled into the sedan. Every sensible part of Emily's mind yelled to stay put, to call Detective Lee right then and report what she'd seen. But as the black sedan peeled out of the gas station, a reckless urge took over. If that was Noah, she had to know why he was skulking around with strangers, trying to break into his own home, and why he'd vanished for 4 years while Olivia's remains lay scattered in the desert. Before she could rethink it, Emily fired up her car and tailed them. She kept a safe distance, at least 2 cars' worth, as they wove through the city. The sedan drove with purpose but stayed careful, signaling every turn, stopping at every light. These guys clearly wanted to avoid drawing eyes. As they hit the edge of Las Vegas, traffic dwindled. The sedan veered onto Highway 160, heading west into the desert. Emily's anxiety spiked with each passing mile. Where were they headed? The road eventually led to Pahrump, but it was mostly empty desert in between. With fewer cars around, staying discreet grew harder. She eased back further, the sedan's taillights barely visible. Fumbling for her phone on the center console, she tried dialing Detective Lee, keeping one eye on the road. "You're tailing them?" His voice was laced with shock and irritation. "Emily, turn back now. This is risky and pointless." "But what if it's really Noah? What if? Even if it is, what's your next move? You're alone, untrained, chasing potentially dangerous people into the desert at night. Turn around. We'll handle it the right way." Emily glanced at the shadowy road ahead. He was right, she was acting on impulse, not reason. The sedan's lights were faint red specks now. "Fine," she said at last. "You're right. I'm turning back." She slowed, searching for a spot to make a U-turn on the narrow highway. The sandy shoulder could easily bog down her tires. At last, she found a wider patch of pavement, likely an old construction pull-off. She just swung around, her headlights aimed back toward the distant city glow, when headlights flared in her rearview mirror. The black sedan had doubled back and was closing in fast. "Oh no," she whispered, her phone slipping as she floored the gas. "Oh no, they spotted me." Her Honda Civic was no match for the sedan's powerful engine. It caught up in seconds, tailgating her aggressively. Emily pushed her car to its limits, the speedometer creeping past 70, then 80. The sedan matched her effortlessly. Then it surged beside her, and she glimpsed the passenger, the fedora guy, motioning for her to pull over. Emily ignored the gesture, her hands clamped tight on the steering wheel, knuckles pale with tension. Abruptly, the sedan veered into her lane, nudging her toward the sandy shoulder. She faced a split-second choice: collide with them or risk the sand. She opted for the sand, easing off the gas as her tires skidded off the asphalt. Her car swerved chaotically before halting in a swirl of dust. Before she could shift into reverse, the sedan pulled up behind her, cutting off any chance of escape. Emily jabbed the door locks in a panic, her phone lost somewhere on the floorboard, likely wedged under the seat. Her heart raced as the man in the fedora stepped out, grabbing something from the sedan's trunk, a tire iron. "Please," she whispered futilely as he neared her driver's side window. "Don't do this." The window shattered inward, glass fragments raining down like tiny pebbles. Rough hands reached in, flipping the lock and yanking her out despite her desperate resistance. In her car's dim interior light, she finally saw the man's face clearly. It wasn't Noah. The fleeting relief vanished as her wrists were bound with zip ties and a gag was shoved into her mouth. Another man rifled through her car, snatching her purse, phone, and anything that could trace back to her. They hustled her into the sedan's back seat, flanked by two men, one in those cartoon-printed veterinary scrubs. Through the rear window, she saw another man slide into her Honda. The sedan's interior stank of old smoke and a sharp, clinical scent that churned her stomach. She squirmed against the zip ties, the plastic biting into her skin, but the man next to her, called Max, she'd overheard, pressed a heavy hand on her shoulder. "Conserve your strength," he said with fake sympathy. "You'll need it soon enough." The driver, still wearing Noah's fedora, caught her eye in the rearview mirror. "Told you guys it was her from the morning news. Never forget a face." Spotted her peeking from the house window. Good thing her car's tint was flimsy, saw her clear as day. Right? They slipped a blindfold over her eyes soon after exiting the highway. The drive felt endless, likely over an hour, plunging deeper into the desert's dark embrace. When the car finally stopped, she heard boots crunching on sand and the faint, eerie wail of coyotes in the distance. The door jerked open, and rough hands hauled her out. They removed the blindfold, but the gag stayed tight. Emily blinked into the darkness, her vision adjusting to reveal a massive warehouse looming like a ghost in the desert. From outside, it seemed deserted, with only faint light seeping through grimy windows. Stepping inside shattered that illusion. Bright fluorescent lights flooded the space, exposing a hive of activity. The windows, she realized, were coated with film to trap the light, making the building look abandoned to passers-by. The fedora man doffed his hat, running fingers through oily hair, giving Emily her first good look at him. Definitely not Noah, shorter, broader, with pockmarked cheeks and cold, unfeeling brown eyes. "Welcome to our little setup," he said, his grin sending chills down her spine. "Name's Vince. You've met Max already. That's Lee over there." They marched her down a hallway lined with doors, some ajar, revealing rooms with hospital beds. Her mind spun, struggling to make sense of the scene. In one room, she caught sight of still figures on beds, IVs trailing from their arms. In another, a person in scrubs checked monitors. They led her to a room filled with hospital beds, each fitted with restraint straps and medical gear. In a real hospital, it might have been comforting; here, it was terrifying. They forced her onto a bed, and Max swiftly swapped her zip ties for the bed straps, securing her wrists to the rails. Only then did Vince remove the gag. Emily screamed for help, her voice bouncing off the concrete walls. Vince slapped her casually, the sting whipping her head sideways. Try that again, and you're done for. Got it? Blood trickled from where her teeth grazed her cheek. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. That's better, Vince said. He turned to Max, heard from Nick yet? He ditched her car. Should be gone by now, Max answered. He's got it covered. Emily's voice trembled, barely a whisper. That hat, where'd you get it? Max let out a harsh chuckle. She's onto the hat, Vince. Vince's grin widened. Don't sweat it. Bigger fish to fry. He nodded at Max, fetch our surgeon. This is turning out even better than we hoped. As Max left, Vince and a man in scrubs wheeled Emily's bed through another hallway. The walls here were worn, paint flaking, lights flickering sporadically. They pushed through double doors into what was meant to be an operating room, but it felt like a set from a nightmare. The surgical tools looked functional but dated, the overhead lights glaring yet patchy, casting eerie shadows. No windows, no link to the outside world. They shifted her to the operating table, her struggles futile against their practiced moves. Quiet her down, Vince barked. But keep it light, she needs to stay awake. A supposed medical staffer, whose qualifications Emily doubted, pulled out a syringe. She twisted, but strong hands pinned her as the needle pierced her arm. Within minutes, a heavy sluggishness seeped through her body. Her mind stayed sharp, gripped by fear, but her limbs felt leaden, as if she'd just run miles. The drug didn't dull her terror, if anything, being alert but helpless amplified it. The doors slammed open. 2 guards dragged in a man in tattered clothes, shoving him forward. Emily's heart froze when she recognized his silhouette, the way he carried himself despite his frail state. Noah. Alive, but gaunt, his face hollow with fading bruises, his surgeon's hands trembling faintly. Vince's men surrounded him, forcing him into scrubs with eerie efficiency. Scrub in, document. You know the routine, Vince said. Noah moved to the sink like a man on autopilot, his actions honed by repetition. But when he turned and saw Emily on the table, his face drained of color. He choked out, voice breaking. Emily tried to speak, but the drug slurred her words. Please, she managed faintly. Noah, it's me. Don't, whatever they're making you do. Noah's shock twisted into rage. He spun on Vince. No way. I'm not doing this. Beat me all you want, I'm through with your games. I won't touch my sister-in-law. Your sister-in-law? Vince mocked surprise. No wonder she was at your place. My place? Noah's voice rose, incredulous. Vince's laugh was icy. Funny how it worked out. We just went to grab your ledger and insurance docs from your house, needed some pressure to keep you in line. But there she was, spying from inside. When we left, she tailed us like an idiot. So we seized the moment. She's way better leverage than papers, don't you think? Emily's foggy mind grappled with the words. Ledger. Insurance documents. What had Noah gotten tangled in? The boss is losing patience, Doc, Vince said, his fake cheer gone. Frank wants you back at work. You've been dodging for weeks, and that's bad for profits. So here's the deal, get back to cutting, prove your loyalty, or M here becomes our next donor. Your call, scum. Noah's fists balled up. You filthy. Clock's ticking, document. What's it gonna be? Emily saw the torment play out on Noah's face. For years of unanswered questions crashed over her. Where had he been? What was this place? What happened to Olivia? At last, Noah's shoulders sagged in surrender. Fine, but she stays untouched. That's the deal. Lucky girl, Vince said to Emily with mock warmth. Such a big-hearted brother-in-law. Family sticking together, how sweet. The doors swung open again. The man in veterinary scrubs from the gas station pushed in a stretcher, a young unconscious woman strapped to it. Another victim. Move her, Vince ordered, pointing at Emily. They shifted her to a wheelchair, parking her in a corner where she could watch but do nothing. She locked eyes with Noah for a brief second, catching the pain and silent plea for forgiveness. Despite the drug, she was lucid enough to grasp the horror unfolding. Noah had been coerced into this sinister operation, and now she was ensnared in it too. All right, Doc, Vince said, slapping his hands together. Time to pull your weight. Oh, and you're gonna train our rookie while you're at it. He nodded toward the man in veterinary scrubs. Say hello to Dr. Harris. He's an animal doc, but we reckon the fundamentals are close enough, yeah. You've got to be kidding, Noah snapped. Veterinarians don't do human surgeries. Then you'd better be a damn good mentor, Vince cut in sharply. Dr. Harris is your new sidekick. Teach him well. Balk, he shot a pointed look at Emily. Noah shut his eyes for a moment, then approached the operating table with the grim resolve of a man out of options. The veterinarian stood opposite, a mix of excitement and nerves flickering across his face. For now, just observe, Noah said under his breath. He started prepping the anesthesia, his hands finding stability in the familiar motions. We're doing a kidney removal. A hulking man strode into the room, all muscle and no finesse. He seized Emily's arm, yanking her from the wheelchair. The drug still left her legs wobbly, and she'd have collapsed without his iron grip. Where are you dragging her? Noah demanded, freezing mid-preparation. None of your concern, Vince replied slickly. But don't worry, Doc, we'll keep her alive, for your sake. As long as you stay useful, she keeps breathing. That's the bargain. The brute's hold on Emily's arm was like a clamp as he pulled her through the warehouse's twisting corridors. Her legs, sluggish from the injected drug, struggled to keep up. He halted at a thick metal door, fished out a key, and shoved her inside. The room was bleak, bare concrete walls, a flimsy mattress on a single bed, a bucket in the corner, nothing more. A harsh bulb glared overhead, confirming its purpose, a cell. Back soon, the man sneered, his grin chilling her to the core. Gotta grab some gear. The boss likes fresh ones broken in right. The door crashed shut, the lock snapping with a final click. Emily caught the sound of his heavy boots fading down the hall. Alone, she assessed her predicament. The drug's effects were easing, feeling creeping back into her limbs. She tested her balance, pacing the small room's edges, each step steadier than the last. The bed caught her eye, something about it felt wrong. Sitting on its edge, she checked its frame and felt something under the pillow. Her fingers closed around a ballpoint pen, clearly hidden on purpose. Intrigued, she slid her hand along the mattress's seam, finding papers tucked between it and the rusted bed frame. She pulled out folded sheets, her heart stopping at Noah's familiar handwriting. The first was their wedding vows. She could still picture that day, Noah's voice breaking with emotion as he spoke to Olivia. I vow to cherish you through every late-night surgery, every cake that falls flat, every high and low life throws at us. The other sheets were letters, all to Olivia. A lock's click jolted her. Emily hurriedly stuffed the papers and pen into her jeans, tugging her shirt to hide the lump. The muscle-bound man returned, and her blood froze at his cargo: leather straps, handcuffs, a riding crop, tools meant for one sinister purpose here. "Time for your initiation," he declared, placing the items on the floor with eerie care. "Everyone gets broken here, one way or another. But you're a looker, so this'll be extra special." "No," Emily said, pressing back against the wall. "You don't need to do this." "Oh, I do," he smirked. "It's the best part of the gig." He stepped closer, relishing her fear. "You can play nice or make it tough. Either way, it's on." Emily's mind raced, the pen digging into her hip through her jeans. One shot, she'd need him close. "Please," she said, letting her voice crack, amplifying the real fear in her chest. "I'll stay out of trouble, I swear." "They all say that." He grabbed her shoulders, and Emily steeled herself not to flinch. "Orders are orders." She spat in his face. His smirk twisted into fury. His backhand struck fast, sending her crashing to the concrete. Stars burst in her vision. "You little," he towered over her. "You're gonna regret that." As he knelt, reaching for the straps, Emily's hand found the pen. He leaned in, his face inches away, breath thick with smoke and cheap liquor, his weight pinning her. Now or never. In one fluid motion, she stabbed the pen deep into his left eye. His scream was primal, hands clawing at his face as he rolled off her, blood gushing between his fingers. Emily scrambled back, a scream stuck in her throat, her eyes fixed on the gun at his hip. As he thrashed, she dove for it, gripping it just as his hand clamped her ankle. "I'll end you," he bellowed, his one good eye blazing with rage and pain. His strength, even wounded, was horrifying. As he dragged her closer, Emily twisted, aiming the gun. "Let go." He didn't, his grip tightening, his other hand fumbling for a knife in his boot. The gunshot roared in the cramped room, his scream spiking as the bullet ripped through his thigh. His hold slackened, and Emily kicked free, staggering to her feet. She stood over him, gun trembling in her hands, braced for guards to storm in. But silence held, the room was soundproofed, built to swallow cries. The door was locked. Emily fired twice at the lock, sparks flying as metal warped. She yanked the handle, and the door swung open. The hallway was empty, bathed in eerie green emergency lights. She didn't know where to go, but staying meant death. She bolted left, bare feet smacking cold concrete as she wove through the maze-like corridors. She needed an office, a phone, anything to reach the outside. Her cell was likely gone, destroyed with her car. Voices ahead made her dive into a nook. Two men in scrubs passed, chatting about a shipment due tomorrow. She waited until their steps faded, then pressed on. A stairwell appeared on her right, up or down. She chose up, hoping for offices instead of more nightmares. Halfway up the next landing, arms snared her from behind, a hand muffling her scream. Her finger grazed the trigger, but a rushed whisper stopped her. "Don't shoot. I'm on your side. Noah sent me." Emily thrashed, unconvinced. "Please," the man urged. "I'm Ryan. Noah saved my life. We've been plotting to escape, to take this place down. I saw you in the or on the cameras. We gotta move fast." He eased his hand off her mouth. Emily spun, gun raised, facing Ryan, a gaunt man in his 40s. He lifted his shirt, revealing a fresh, jagged scar across his stomach. "A week ago, I was a goner," he said urgently. "One of their hack surgeons botched me, too much blood loss, organs shutting down. Noah stepped in, redid the surgery off the books, without Frank's okay, fixed me up. I owe him everything." "How do I know you're legit?" Emily asked. "You don't," Ryan admitted. "But in 2 minutes, they'll find that guard you shot. This place'll lock down, and we're toast. Trust me or go solo, your call." Emily wavered, then lowered the gun slightly. "Where's Noah?" "Still in the ore, can't leave. He told me to run if I ever got a shot." "You're here now, our shot." Ryan glanced down the stairwell, tense. "My truck's in the motor pool. We need to go now." Against her instincts, Emily nodded. Ryan led the way, navigating the corridors with confidence. They passed a few people, but Ryan's presence seemed to vouch for them, just another worker moving someone along. The motor pool was a garage packed with vehicles. Ryan's beat-up Ford F-150 sat near the exit. He grabbed a cap, sunglasses, and a hair tie from the cab, tossing them to Emily. "Put these on. Act like you fit in." She tucked her hair under the cap and donned the sunglasses, despite the night. Ryan fired up the engine, and Emily held her breath as he drove toward the security gate. The guard gave them a cursory wave, letting them pass. They were free. Ryan drove swiftly but cautiously, putting distance between them and the warehouse. The desert sprawled endlessly under a star-studded sky. Emily was utterly lost. "There's a gas station about 30 miles out," Ryan said. "We'll call the cops from there." "What is that place?" Emily asked, voice trembling. "What are they doing?" "Organ trafficking," Ryan said darkly. "Frank Torino runs it all. They snatch people, homeless, junkies, folks no one will miss, keep them alive to harvest organs for buyers, kidneys, liver chunks, corneas, even skin sometimes." Emily's stomach churned. "And Noah, they've had him for 4 years, forcing him to operate. He started refusing lately. That's why they wanted leverage from his house. That ledger they mentioned, it lists every deal, every buyer, proof that could topple their whole operation." "Where's Frank?" "In a separate office building on the site. He rarely hits the warehouse, lets Vince and his crew handle the dirty stuff, but he's the mastermind pulling every string." The gas station emerged, a slice of normalcy in the desert dark. Ryan parked away from the glare, and they rushed to the payphone. Emily's fingers shook as she punched in 911. "I'm Emily Carter. I was kidnapped and held in a warehouse where they're stealing organs from people. Others are trapped there against their will. Send help now." The dispatcher's voice turned crisp and focused. Ryan grabbed the phone, giving precise directions. "North Las Vegas Industrial Zone, Building 47B off Highway 604. Big warehouse with an admin building nearby. At least 20 armed guards, unknown number of captives. Can you reach Detective Michael Lee?" Emily added. "This ties to the Olivia Carter case." They were told to stay put and wait for police. Ryan shifted his truck to a spot with a view of the road but some cover. "Not everyone there's a monster," Ryan said softly as they waited. "Most are stuck, crippled by debt, fear, threats to their loved ones. But Vince and his inner circle? They're all in, thriving on the control. How many victims are there at once? 15, maybe 20. Some don't last long, others," his voice faded. In 20 minutes, the highway swarmed with silent vehicles, no lights, no sirens. SWAT vans, patrol cars, ambulances waiting further back. The operation was massive, tightly coordinated. A patrol car broke off toward the gas station. 2 officers approached warily, verified their identities, and led them to a mobile command post set up nearby. The tactical leader, a no-nonsense woman named Captain Alvarez, questioned them briskly. Emily stressed Noah was a victim, coerced under death threats. Ryan sketched out the building's layouts, guard posts, and where captives were held. "We'll bring them out," Captain Alvarez promised. "The victims and your brother-in-law. But you two need to stay here, out of harm's way." They were moved to a patrol car with a clear view of the road to the warehouse. Emily gripped the gun she'd taken, kept as evidence after officers confirmed it was unloaded. All they could do was wait, hoping the horror that started 4 years ago in Red Rock Canyon would end tonight. From the patrol car, Emily watched SWAT teams take positions around the warehouse complex. The raid unfolded with surgical precision, black-clad officers moving in tight formations, signaling silently in the dark. The first shots rang out, making Emily jump in her seat. Ryan, beside her, rested a steady hand on her shoulder. "They've got this under control," he murmured calmly. But the gunfire grew fiercer, reverberating through the desert air. Flashes from the warehouse windows sparked like lethal fireworks. Emily caught the sound of barked orders, the boom of breaching charges, and the piercing pop of flashbangs. The clash dragged on, far from brief. For nearly 40 minutes, the chaos persisted. Bursts of heavy shooting gave way to eerie pauses, only to flare up again from another part of the compound. Emily's grip on the door handle turned her knuckles pale, every fiber of her urging her to bolt toward the warehouse to find Noah. At last, the gunfire fell silent. Radio chatter spiked, and officers emerged from the building. Their movements had shifted, no longer braced for battle, now focused on locking down the crime scene. Then came the procession of captured suspects, marched out in a long row, wrists cuffed behind them. Emily spotted Vince right away, his fedora missing, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. Max followed, then the veterinarian in his absurd cartoon scrubs, visibly shaken. Nick, likely the one who ditched her car, limped out, his gait uneven. "Gotta be 20 of them," Ryan tallied. "Maybe 25. But the sight of the victims tore at Emily's heart. Medics wheeled them out on gurneys or in wheelchairs. Some shuffled on their own, propped up by paramedics, eyes squinting in bewilderment at their newfound freedom. Others lay still on stretchers, for lines dangling, their fates uncertain. The wail of more ambulances cut through the night as additional medical teams rolled in to manage the flood of survivors. "Where's Frank?" Ryan said abruptly, eyeing the suspects loaded into police vans. "He's not here." Emily scanned the group, but the mastermind was absent. She noticed officers huddling, speaking urgently, some heading toward the administrative building Ryan had mentioned. Then she saw a familiar figure step out of the warehouse, Noah, moving slowly, escorted by 2 officers. Even from afar, his frail frame and cautious steps were stark. A paramedic met him, guiding him to an ambulance. "I have to get to him," Emily said, fumbling for the door handle. The officer in front turned. "Ma'am, hold on until. He's my brother-in-law. Missing for 4 years. Please." The officer radioed for clearance, then nodded. "Stick near the vehicles. The area's not fully safe yet." Emily bolted from the patrol car, Ryan trailing her. She dodged between emergency rigs, her gaze fixed on Noah. He sat on the ambulance's rear bumper, a paramedic checking his pulse. "Noah," she called. He lifted his head at her voice, his face a storm of emotions, sorrow, guilt, relief, and pain battling for control. He tried to stand but wobbled, the paramedic steadying him. They were 10 feet apart when a flicker in Emily's side vision made her turn. A man in a sharp suit approached from the administrative building, dual pistols in hand. She knew instantly it was Frank Torino. He moved like a trapped beast, spraying bullets skyward, then toward the police vehicles. Officers dove for cover, shouting alerts. The next moments unfolded in slow motion. Noah's face twisted with fury, for years of torment and guilt hardening into raw anger. He pushed past the paramedic and charged Frank from his blind side, slamming into him with his full weight. They hit the asphalt hard, grappling for the guns. Noah's medical knowledge gave him precision, but Frank's desperation fueled his strength. They tumbled across the pavement, each vying for control. Noah wrested one pistol free, sending it sliding away. His knee pinned Frank's wrist, forcing the second gun to drop. In a flash, Noah flipped their positions, grabbing a fallen pistol and pressing it to Frank's temple. "You murdered her," Noah's voice was guttural, primal. "My wife, my baby," shot her in the head like she was trash. Frank, trapped beneath him, flashed a bloodied smirk. "Do it, document pull it." Noah's hand trembled, the gun shaking. Officers circled them, weapons raised but holding fire. "She was 8 months pregnant," Noah said, tears pouring down his cheeks. "6 years we tried for that baby, and you. Go on," Frank jeered. "I see it in your eyes. You want it." For a tense moment, Emily thought Noah would shoot. His finger tightened, his body quaking with the urge for retribution. Then his shoulders sagged, the rage draining away. "No," he said. "I'm done with death because of you. You don't get to turn me into a killer." Officers rushed in, pulling Noah back and restraining Frank. They cuffed the crime lord harshly, dragging him upright. Even defeated, Frank's eyes glinted with icy defiance as he was hauled to join his captured crew. Emily ran to Noah as he crumpled to his knees on the asphalt. "That was reckless as hell," she said, enveloping him in a hug. "And unbelievably courageous." "I couldn't let him win again," Noah said. "Not one more person hurt." He was trembling, adrenaline fading into exhaustion. A paramedic approached, gently ushering them back to the ambulance. As the medic examined Noah more closely, noting old bruises and fading cuts, the depth of his suffering became clear. His torso bore scars from repeated beatings, his ribs showing signs of fractures that had mended poorly. "These are from refusing to cut," Noah said faintly. "The last few weeks, when I stopped doing their surgeries, they tried to break me." A familiar voice drew their attention. Detective Lee arrived, looking worn but relieved. He spoke briefly with the scene commander before approaching. "Emily, Mr. Carter," he said, pulling out a notepad. "I know you're wiped out, but I need the full story. Can you walk me through it?" Noah closed his eyes, summoning strength. When he opened them, for years of buried truth poured out. "I had a gambling habit," he started, voice hollow. "It began small, poker nights with other doctors, a bit of sports betting, but it snowballed. By 2018, I was $300,000 in debt to what I thought were just loan sharks. I had no clue about this." He gestured feebly at the warehouse. "That day, October 14th, Olivia wanted to hike. I thought it'd be a nice break, one last normal moment before I had to confess the debt. We posted a photo on Facebook, tagged at Red Rock Canyon. An hour later, Frank's men tracked us down on the trail. His voice cracked. Emily squeezed his hand, urging him on. They demanded the money. I couldn't pay, so they threatened Olivia, our baby. She didn't know about the debt, she panicked, tried to call 911. They shoved us into a van. He paused, struggling. Frank shot her point blank, called it a lesson for defiance. Detective Lee wrote steadily, his face composed despite the grim tale. They spared me because of the debt, said I'd work it off as their surgeon. They dumped Olivia's body deep in the desert, somewhere coyotes would scatter the remains fast. Then they brought me here. You've been here all 4 years? Detective Lee asked. Noah nodded. At first, I thought I deserved it. My addiction, my debt killed Olivia. I was as guilty as them. So I did their bidding, operated on victims, harvested organs for their clients, became the monster they wanted. He met Emily's eyes, pleading for understanding. But a few weeks ago, on our anniversary, I dreamed of Olivia. She said she was waiting, but I had to be a good man first, had to stop the deaths. That's when I started resisting. That's why they wanted leverage from your house, Detective Lee said. The ledger, financial records, buyer lists, transactions. I kept hidden copies, hoping one day. But when I defied them, they got frantic. The detective looked at Emily. And you got caught in the crossfire. If I hadn't tailed them, she began. You saved lives tonight, Ryan cut in, approaching with an officer. Without your escape and call for help, who knows how many more would have suffered. More statements were collected, details logged. The crime scene would take days to process, but the immediate danger was gone. As they readied to head to the station for formal reports, Emily sat beside Noah in the back of a patrol car. I'm so sorry, Noah whispered. For Olivia, the baby, for vanishing, for all the pain I've caused. Olivia forgave you in your dream, Emily said gently. If she could after everything, I'll try too. But Noah, the gambling, it's got to be done for good. It was, months before that day, he said. But the debt and interest kept piling up. He gazed out at the desert's darkness. I'll spend my life making it right, starting with a proper burial for Olivia and our child. Emily nodded, tears flowing freely. Through the patrol car's rear window, she saw Ryan climbing into another vehicle. Their eyes met briefly, and she mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded, understanding. As the patrol car pulled away from the warehouse, leaving behind the flashing lights and organized chaos, Emily and Noah sat in shared sorrow and fragile hope. Dawn was hours off, but for the first time in 4 years, they were heading toward something beyond the dark. The station loomed ahead with hours of questions, forms, and choices about what came next. But for now, in this patrol car slicing through the desert night, 2 wounded souls, who'd lost so much, clung to the faint chance that healing, however hard and far off, might finally start.